So this is a model that was built about 4 years ago for a museum, and they invited 20 artists, so-called artists, to do their interpretation of some of the old paintings that they had on display in the museum. And I saw a painting of, no, it was a photograph. They were photographs. So I saw a photograph of some guys building a boat, and this was my interpretation. They said this was the most popular one of the entire display, so I felt quite good about that. I built that in 9 days. But yeah, that was working 12 hours a day for 9 days straight. Well, when I was a member of the Victoria Model Boat Building Society, we used to put shows on all over Victoria. And one of them was at the Victoria Museum, which was kind of nice. We were there for a whole weekend, I guess, and some of my boats were on display there. It's a copy of one of the Vancouver Island Macmillan and Bodell dozer boats. And I built this for a show in Vancouver at the Coliseum about 5 years ago. And we had a great time over there. We spent 3 days with our pool right in the center of the Coliseum and played boats. Oh, this thing goes like crazy, and it rocks back and forth, and the little guy turns the steering wheel, and it's all radio controlled. And of course, I had my little rowboats out there. And on one occasion, there was a couple of engineers and somebody cutting a deal on a larger boat. I sent this little rowboat across, and all of a sudden their conversation stopped and they were watching the rowboat. So I think a few people other than myself get pleasure out of these models. Yeah, when we first bought this house, we had no idea that it was the oldest house in, we had no idea that it was the oldest house in Nanaimo, so we were quite surprised after they informed us of it, and then our picture was in the paper, the house was in the paper. Well, this is a model of the house. We were having so many fundraisers through the house, like the Vancouver Island Symphony came through, and one afternoon we had about 450 people in here. And to describe the whole house from this one room is just about impossible. We had an archaeological dig here for about 2 years with the Nanaimo Archaeological Society, and they feel that it was built in 1866. The first tax records from then show that this was a garden from here on down to Cray Street, and I guess it just supplied vegetables for the miners and whatnot. And then of course everybody recognizes this, the Bastion. The Bastion was built in, I believe, 1853 or somewhere by a couple of French guys. And I like to think of these as the two oldest buildings in Nanaimo. Now this is the only one that, of my models that is smart. You ask it any question, and well, it can only respond negative or affirmative. So, do you like living in this house? Why not? He doesn't know. This wasn't built for a show or anything. It was built for my pleasure only. But ultimately it ended up in quite a few shows over on the mainland and up and down the island, and it's another one of my little models that's been fairly well received and brought a chuckle to people. Okay, this is a model of a boat that was designed around the 1850s, maybe earlier than that, maybe 1830s. But they were quite common around New York Harbor, Massachusetts, Maine. They were just used for a shoal water fishery. They're not seaworthy at all. And Yvonne and I have had sailboats all our lives down at Ladysmith, and I couldn't afford to buy one of these, so I just built a model of it. It's a cat boat, yeah. They built them up to 50 feet long, and they raced them. Okay, through hull fittings were very dangerous, as they sometimes rusted out and failed. So there was no indoor plumbing on these older boats. This was what you had in the cockpit of the boat, and it worked well, and everything was thrown overboard. And okay, this is one of the smaller boats that I built. Okay. Most of the boats that I built take about 2 months to build. Now, this one by its size, you'd think it took a week to build, but you know, it took 2 months to build this thing too, because all the frames are smaller and they're steam bent oak, and of course the planks, they're all, I don't know if I steamed the planks or not, but I know all the ribs were. Okay, this was built for the Maritime Discovery Center in Port Alberni about 3 or 4 years ago, and they had the history of diving display on. And apparently when there was these millions of dollars worth of things like submersibles that dived on things, and they were built in, I think, North Vancouver. And the curator of the museum was having a problem keeping the people focused on these submarines and the old diving stuff, because everybody wanted to come and push the button and watch these characters go up and down. Yeah, well, this is back in the 60s when I built this. It was, we were living in Port Moody at the time, and I was an electrician for Dow Chemicals and part-time at the BA oil refinery up on the hill there. And much to the chagrin of my parents and her parents, I preferred doing this kind of stuff than actually earning money. So I think I quit at the time, and I built this silly little thing, which is all run by, you shake hands with him, and he's very rude. He'll kick you too. I don't know, I just built things like this all my life.